For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Cashing Out right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We're going to get to the introduction very, very fast here. We've got a pair of great guests. We're going to have 3 tremendous hours coming up for you, as well as Dennis Bernstein is going to be talking some NHL here in hour number 1. Wes Reynolds, he's going to be talking some golf in the back half of the show as well. Reason why we go very quick on the introduction is because I was not prepared for the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers game to be going on during this show, and yet somehow, some way it is. It is 129-128, 2 minutes and change remaining, and this has been one of the wildest games of basketball I've ever seen. The New York Knicks were up 14 points with 2 minutes and change remaining. They are currently now trailing 130-129 with just under 2 minutes remaining, and I mean, my goodness, the way that this has played out. If you miss the shot from what we saw to be able to force overtime from Tyrese Haliburton, I can hardly even talk right now because it's just so crazy what we've seen. The ball shoots up all the way up to the shot clock, goes down. We get overtime because his foot was on the line. And here with the Indiana Pacers, they're 15 out of 36 from three-point range. With Aaron Nesmith tonight, 8 of 9 from three-point range, single-handedly bailing out the Indiana Pacers to be able to get to that Tyrese Haliburton shot. And now here's where we're at right now in terms of live line. You've got the Indiana Pacers currently with the Knicks going to the free throw line, a +1.5 underdog. So money line is the Knicks right around -135. Your live total is 270.5, which, way that this thing is going, we might be getting another overtime because that's just the way that this game is playing out. So, yeah, this is just very fascinating to say the least. And for the Indiana Pacers, the way that they were able to persevere through this game, and I think that begs the question, is it the Indiana Pacers being able to try to steal this game, or is it the New York Knicks just peeing down their leg? I think that that's a question that we need to decipher and we need to take a look at, but hey, man, if you had a player props over in this game, you are doing very, very well. Karl Anthony Towns, 35 points, 12 rebounds. Jalen Brunson is currently up to 39 points and counting. You've been able to have for the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Haliburton go out for 29. Nesmith has went well over his prop. He's got 30. Heck, every single starter of the Pacers has gotten to at least 13 points. So we've got ourselves craziness, 132, 131. $1.22 remaining, and I was saying this on the show yesterday, and this is going to turn out to be right, because the spread when it closed was right around about the Indiana Pacers being a 4.5 point underdog. I felt like a higher scoring game boded well for them to either win the game outright on the money line or for them to, at the very minimum, be able to cover the spread. Lower scoring game was more in the New York Knicks' favor. Right now, that is very much playing out to form, as right now the Pacers are up 132, 131. You've got a little bit over a minute remaining, and there's just such high drama here with the New York Knicks out trailing by a point, and they're going to look to try to get the ball to Jalen Brunson. This is pretty much a money line that if you're taking a look possession by possession, whoever has the ball, they become essentially the favorite in this ordeal, because right now the Knicks are down by a point, but because they have the ball, they are currently the -135/-145 betting favorite, and they're going to be heading to the free throw line right now. Just wildness, craziness, and as I'm watching this game right now, the only thing that I can think of that really rivals this, because I'm a little bit more of a college basketball guy personally, you remember when Northern Iowa was playing against Texas A&M? They were up by double figures with like 45 seconds remaining. Now, this wasn't a case of it being turnover after turnover after turnover with the New York Knicks, so there were certainly a few turnovers in this one, but I mean, that's what I'm thinking about right now. Just the way that old Northern Iowa, those kids, they looked like they were going to be going to the Sweet 16 after they had hit a half-court shot, by the way, in that round number 1 game just to be able to get to that round of 32 game. way that transpired, that's right now what is running through my mind right now. 134-133. Pacers respond with a bucket. 45 seconds remaining. Right now, they are the live betting favorite at a -125. This is just high drama on every single possession. Your live total is 273.5, and I mean, it's a very simple handicap. If you think that this game is going to double overtime, you bet the over. If you think that this game is going to be wrapping up in regulation, well, even with that, the under might still not hit because these teams are just hitting bucket after bucket after bucket. I can't remember last time I've seen two teams just flat out play this way, as that was a putback, by the way, for the Indiana Pacers with Obi Toppin, by the way. So there's that 136-135 now, 27 seconds remaining. Just every possession is yielding points. There is nobody in this game right now that is making a stop whatsoever. Every single team is being able to hit. They either hit their three or they get a putback and they get that shot back. Like every single possession right now is yielding points. 136-135. Right now we've got a little bit of a timeout. Live betting line, Indiana Pacers -145 on the money line, and it's going to be about a 3.5 second differential between shot clock and game clock for the New York Knicks, as they're going to be talking this one over. And this has been one of the most crazy things I've ever seen. Like, I am glad that we've got this Eastern Conference Finals, because I was thinking prior to the start of the playoffs that we were going to be able to get the Celtics versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. They were the teams that took control all season long, and with the New York Knicks, always been a pesky team. Indiana Pacers, I felt like got hot really from Christmas, I think is a fair way of being able to put it, and here these two teams are just absolutely battling it out. So we've got ourselves a lot of high action here, as this is Cashing Out right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And with them in a break, let's remind you guys that if you're looking to be able to download or if you're looking to get in on a VSiN Pro subscription, you're able to do so for as low as $199. That is going to get you guys VSiN Pro access for 14 months, not just the normal 12. And typically we charge $20 a month, so we're trimming out $41 for you right now. That gets you all of our daily best bets via your email. You're able to get everything via the VSiN Watch app for watching all of our shows, for being able to get show replays. We've got our NFL guide that's going to be coming out as well. Go to VSiN.com/pro, type in that promo code of PRO, P-R-O. That's going to be able to get you guys that $41 off and 2 free months over at VSiN.com/subscribe, as it is Cashing Out with myself, Greg Eaves Peterson, on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And right now, this game is on crazy pills between the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks, and we are trying to be calm as this game is on crazy pills, as this overtime has right now yielded 21 points. You've got 26.7 seconds remaining. So this is going to be a shot clock to game clock differential of about 2.7 seconds. And we're going to see how this plays out. We have been seeing a lot of, shall we say, interesting foul calls that have been made here in the second half, so you do want to be noting that as well. But for the New York Knicks, as of right now, it's just all about what are they going to be able to do with this possession. You have to think that they just look to Karl-Anthony Towns, I would think. He's been the main guy for them thus far, and with this one, you've got a ball that goes out of bounds, but it is going to be probably reviewed. It looked like it was out on the Indiana Pacers. Right now, they're saying that it's New York Knicks ball, but it looks like they're going to have a little bit of a review here. They're going to be trying to determine who that ball was out on. So we've got ourselves some high drama here, and let's just reset this. The reason why we are here where we are right now, and that looks like it's clearly out on the Indiana Pacers, that should be New York Knicks ball. I mean, unless if I'm seeing this wrong and I need to get glasses, yeah, that's clearly out there. But that said, when it comes down to what we've been seeing, the reason why we are here right now, Aaron Nesmith turns into Reggie Miller 2.0, hits like 6 threes in the final minute or so of this game, and then you have that Tyrese Halliburton shot with the New York Knicks. They were in full control of this game. Like, if you had the New York Knicks laying 4 to 4.5 points, you thought that this thing was a cruise job. Like, I was wondering if the live total I had taken, because I was on Scott Seidenberg a little bit before, and a little bit of an interesting side note here. For those of you that are fans of VSiN, I was on with Scott Seidenberg. I'm currently doing this show. I'm going to be the first guest on the next show tomorrow. So that's a Herculean run right there. We are here for it. But that said, when it comes down to what we've all got here, it's just been absolutely wild and crazy. And if the Indiana Pacers are able to pull this off, this has to be looked at as, in my opinion, one of the greatest comebacks in the history of any sort of a conference final, whether it be baseball, whether it be football, whether it be basketball. Like, this has been absolutely wild, and this is really setting the tone for what we're going to be seeing in the entirety of the series, and that's something that you do want to be taking a look at as well. Just with regards to these playoffs, live bet whatever team is down double figures, because both of these teams have come back from massive deficits all throughout the playoffs. We remember what the New York Knicks were able to do in that series against Boston Celtics, down 20-plus points twice, and in both of those games, they were able to claw it out with the Indiana Pacers. They've had their own great comebacks here in the postseason as well. So, I mean, it's been wild what we've been seeing. And I will give you one little bit of a side note here while they're reviewing this play between the Knicks and the Pacers to determine whose ball it's going to be. Colorado Rockies, not a shocker. They're currently down 9-3. They were the quickest team since the 1890s to 40 losses. They're about to lose their 41st game with 8 wins. They're going to be the quickest team to be able to reach 41 losses in, I believe it's 130 years. To put that in perspective, the Ottoman Empire would not fold for another 25 years from the date when that happened. So you got that. And for the Indiana Pacers, it is going to be their ball. They get it back, and that is going to be a slam that was... Let's see here. Who was able to get that slam? As it's now 138, 135. That would be Obi Toppin that gets that slam. 15 seconds remaining. Now the Knicks are down 3, and now it becomes decision time. With 15 seconds remaining, what do you do on defense if you're the Indiana Pacers? Because Knicks are going to be selling out to be able to get a 3. If you're the Indiana Pacers, is it too quick to foul with it being 15 seconds remaining in terms of what you're going to be doing? That, I think, is a big question right here. Because right now with Obi Toppin, by the way, out of his 8 points, 4 of them have come in overtime. So that's just wildness right there. But for the Pacers, now it's all about how do you set up your defense? When do you foul? Who do you foul? Is it a case where you just end up letting it play out? That's the big question that they've got right now. 138, 135. Got yourself 15 seconds remaining. Right now, if you're looking at the live line, the Pacers on the live money line, minus 1,050, but I will say this as well. That live total is currently at 275.5. That's a circumstance where, honestly, I would take a look at just a live over right now, because if the Knicks hit a 3, then it's going to most likely double overtime and you cash that. If the Knicks miss this shot and they allow for enough time, they're going to be able to get a foul. Then they might be fouled themselves. That's actually something that you're able to take a look at. When you take a look at late game situations like this, being able to decipher these live totals, I think is something that is very good. So if you're looking at that, there's a little bit of value on that front end. It looks like we've got one last possession for the New York Knicks. We shall see if they're going to be able to hit this shot, go to double overtime or not. We will know that on the flip side right here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
That is a final from New York, as it is Cashing Out with myself, Greg Eves Peterson, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. The New York Knicks, with one of the biggest choke jobs I have ever witnessed. They lose by a count of 138 to 135. Now, when it came to this game, I just thought that for sure the New York Knicks were going to be able to get the job done. We saw the Tyrese Halliburton shot, and then he gives the Reggie Miller choke job right afterwards. As that was one of the luckiest shots I've ever seen. Like, I'm going to call it what it is. That was a wounded duck brick that went all the way up to nearly the ceiling. Somehow, some way, it goes all the way through the basket like a swish, and then from overtime, the Indiana Pacers able to take control of this game. Absolutely wild, absolutely crazy. 138, 135, and what becomes of intrigue is how do you handicap game number 2, because these two teams are going to be going at it here in the next 72 or so hours. And yeah, if you're the New York Knicks, how do you recover from what is one of the most heartbreaking losses that you're ever going to find? This game was done, and this game was completely salted away. 119-105. The New York Knicks were leading with about 2 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. This thing was about as done gets. If you look at like win probabilities on ESPN and everything like that, they were showing that at like 99.7%. Well, apparently there was a 0.3% that was still remaining out there. there, and of course, that is what exactly transpired here. As for the New York Knicks, just words cannot describe how wild, crazy, and insane this was. And if you, like me, took an under at any point in this game, you certainly lost that one. But for the Indiana Pacers, the man that was able to get them to that spot, Aaron Nesmith, 30 points, 8 of 9 from three-point range. Pacers overall go 15 of 37 from distance. And for the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson, 43 points. Karl-Anthony Towns, 35 points. Everyone else needed to do a little bit more for this team. Outside of those two guys, you only had a combined 57 points from everyone else. Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, they did have 16 points apiece, but just expected a little bit more out of them, in my opinion. You really didn't get too much off the bench, and for the Indiana Pacers, I recognize that their bench players weren't necessarily completely lighting it up, but TJ McConnell was able to give them 10 points. Ben Mathurin was able to step up, give them a little bit of production as well, and this really sets the tone for what I think is going to be an amazing series. I do think that there's going to be a lot of betting opportunities on both of these teams, and again, the biggest takeaway that I have from game number one, this is a series that rather than betting it prior to the game, you want to be betting these things in game. Because if you bet these things in game, you just take a look at the team that gets down quite a few points, and you have to figure that they're going to be able to make a bit of a run. That's exactly what both of these teams have done all postseason long. For the New York Knicks, whenever they've had a lead, they've blown it. Whenever they've been down 20-plus points, they've been able to rally back. So I do think that that's a way that you're able to decipher this. Don't try to fuss around with this prior to the game. Look at this thing in game. Try to be able to get a little bit of a better number, and I think that is going to be your best friend. And what I think is very interesting right now, because the openers are coming onto the board right now. We're seeing this over at DraftKings. We're seeing this at Caesars. The New York Knicks, after just losing this game in heartbreaking fashion, they closed as 4.5-point favorites. That closing total was 221 after 222, and that was a total that went up, down, all around, because the initial, shall we say, official opener for the total was more around about a 222, 222.5. That shoots up to about 224 night before the game. That gets bet all the way down to about a 221, 221.5. Now we've got a total of 228.5, and the New York Knicks, after losing this game, once again, if you want a soul-crushing loss, if you want a loss that just stings more than any other loss I feel like I've ever seen in my life, this is about it. They're now 5.5-point favorites. So I find that to be very interesting, and that's whether or not you buy into the zigzag theory. Do you think that this team is going to be able to bounce back? Do you think that they're going to be able to get the job done? Or are they going to be feeling sorry for themselves? Are they going to be wallowing? That is what you do have to ask yourself here. And how do you just take a look at the matchups in general? Because the way that I decipher this is that it does feel like the Indiana Pacers match up pretty darn well with the New York Knicks. You were able to see Tyrese Halliburton show off his versatility in this one. Obviously, you've got a very, 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 very lucky bounce there to be able to force overtime as well. And are not going to apologize how you're able to get this win if you're the Indiana Pacers, as it is 138-135 overtime victory. Just absolutely wild, absolutely insane what we were able to see there. And what you do want to be taking a look at as well is the sharp plays, because we've got ourselves just so much as happening in general. This was a sharp game, and the sharpplays.com, they are there. They don't change the market. They move it. They are going to outmuscle the billion. You know that you're not going to outmuscle the billion-dollar sports books or full-time sports bettors on your own. The sharp plays, they make sure that you don't have to do it all by yourself, because they've got cutting-edge AI and trusted insider sources. The sharp plays, they deliver the edge that serious bettors rely upon. You're able to get their free betting reports on the old Twitter/X and via email, market-moving insights along that front as well. And this isn't some overnight startup. Sharp Plays has been around since 2011 with a very long and distinct track record with receipts, public logs, and results that are right there on the website. Respected, watched, and feared. That's the Sharp Plays. Check them out now at thesharpplays.com, as it is Cashing Out with myself, Greg Hughes Peterson, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And man, that was an absolutely wild and crazy game that we saw. 138-135 again. The opener now, after the Knicks, they close as 4.5-point favorites. Now you're finding them as 5.5-point favorites here for game number 2. And again, this is not something that I'm going to be messing around with prior to the game or anything like that. This is going to be something that I'm taking a look at with regards to in-game, and you're able to get really good in-game prices on the Indiana Pacers. I thought I was getting some value with the in-game under as well, but it turned out this game was going to be going to overtime. It turned out this game was going to be absolutely wild and crazy. You'll live with that one, and I do think that if I would be looking at anything prior to the game, I do think that this is going to be a game that's going to be slowed down a little bit more, and we're right now seeing this as we are doing this, by the way. I was saying that this opened up at a 5.5 in a lot of spots. It did open up at DraftKings and Caesars at a 5.5. It's now at a 6. So the market is clearly reacting. This was a opening total at those places right around about a 228, 228.5. We're right down to a 226.5, 227. I find it very interesting to see where that's going to be moving to, because you do have to figure that there's going to be a little bit of reaction as to what we saw here. But honestly, after what I saw in game number 1, I probably would be willing to dive in a little bit more on an under. I just can't see Aaron Nesmith going 8 of 9 from 3-point range again. And if Aaron Nesmith goes 3 of 9, or if he goes 8 of 9 from 3-point range again, you just tip your head and you move on. But I think that there should be a little bit of regression there. We saw what happened with the Indiana Pacers, and it was fully encapsulated at the end of regulation. The way that ball bounces up like 500 million feet in the air and just somehow, some way just lands into the basket. It's clear that it was the Indiana Pacers' night, and sometimes that's what it comes down to. Sometimes you can have the world's greatest handicap and things just don't bounce your way. Variance does happen in basketball. That's why they have shot quality scores now in this day and age. That's why you do take a look at the advanced analytics and you trust in the long-term results. You don't necessarily put all of your shekels in the middle on one game, because in one singular game, one team could get hot, one team could get cold. And that's a big reason why in the NBA playoffs, you see fewer and fewer upsets, because this is a best of 7. You see much more of that in the NCAA tournament, because it's a one-and-done sort of tournament where a 15 seed probably is not knocking off the 2 seed with a best of 5, best of 7 series. Best of 1 game, you get the shots to go the way of the 15 seed. They might be able to win that game. So I think that that's very important to be mindful of. We will see what these revamped series prices are going to be, as right now I'm seeing one that is the Indiana Pacers minus 190, and rightfully so. I actually did think that they had a chance to be able to win this series prior to it, and man, that is a big, big win for them. And we are going to be taking a look a little bit later on as to what we're going to be getting in terms of that OKC Thunder versus Minnesota Timberwolves series as well, as that is going to be going down with game number 2 after you saw the OKC Thunder just really romp in the second half of that game yesterday. They were able to get the job done, get the win, get the cover. That was a game that did go under the total, and right now you're seeing the OKC Thunder between 7 and 7.5 point favorites. Again, if you believe in the zigzag theory, you're probably looking a little bit more at the Minnesota Timberwolves, who played a good first half. The defense was right on point there. Second half, that's where things went completely into the abyss for them, but yeah, this is just an absolutely wild postseason, and I should point this out as well. With regards to Eastern and Western Conference playoffs, this is the first time since 1996 that there is not a team from the state of Texas or the state of California that is taking part in this as well. I was 3 years old at the time when that happened, so sorry if I aged you guys a little bit there, but that's exactly what we are seeing in terms of these NBA playoffs right now. It has been unconventional. It has been not necessarily what we've been expecting, and exactly what we were not expecting here tonight is what happened. The New York Knicks up by 14 points with 2 minutes and change remaining. They lose this game 138-135. This has been a classic playoff series for many, many years. You go back to Patrick Ewing going up against Reggie Miller out there at the Garden, everything like that. Reggie Miller doing the choke sign, and you saw that from Tyrese Haliburton tonight. You saw that on full display here. So we've got ourselves a 1-0 series lead for the Indiana Pacers, and I'll point out a little bit of what's happening in terms of the baseball front as well, and we are going to be talking a lot more about the NHL playoffs in a few minutes. Dennis Bernstein, he does an absolutely tremendous job covering everything out there on the ice. He's going to be joining me here in about 5 or so minutes, but you did indeed see the Colorado Rockies lose another game. This should come as no shock to you. 9-5 the final. Sometimes when it comes to sports betting, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes you don't have to go super duper complex. The Colorado Rockies have been losing all season long. All but 5 of their losses, and they've now got 41 of them, have come by multiple runs. You were able to get that run line right around minus 135, minus 140. Hopefully you took that, and we're going to take our liberties on talking some hockey next with Dennis Bernstein right here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're back here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Great to be joined by this man on the Progressive Guest Line, as we've got Dennis Bernstein aboard. He does the 4th period over on SiriusXM, part of the National Radio Network over there. And Dennis, it is great to get you aboard. Thank you so much.
Well, it was a pleasure, Greg. Great to be with you this evening.
Great to be with you, and it was great to see what we got out there in the Dallas versus Edmonton series, with Dallas being able to take a 1-0 lead. They put up 6 goals. They really pull away in the third period, and we saw after the game as well, there was a little bit of shoving, and there was a little bit of a brouhaha that went down as well. And just how do you take a look at this series? Because I feel like Dallas, for lack of a better term, they did so after the game as well. They really brought the fight to Edmonton.
They did. Those 2-goal third-period leads, Greg, in the playoffs, you don't want them. You'd rather play from behind than ahead at this point. So it's not the first time a team. I covered the LA Edmonton series, and they blew third-period leads in 3 of the games. So I think with respect to the end of the game, Greg, just a little more frustration from Edmonton blowing that game that you had in control. You know, I joked with you before we came out. I don't know who played worse defense in the last period, in the Knicks or Edmonton. It was a matter of special teams, and a lot of times that's what decides games in the playoffs. Because, Greg, to be honest with you, the 4 teams remaining, there's not much separating these teams. But Dallas found a way to get power play goals in the third period. They went on to win Game 1. I think it's the first time in 8 straight games they've won a Game 1. So that augurs well for the Dallas Stars, because after 40 minutes, you thought Edmonton had this game in control.
Yeah, you certainly did, and I just go back to what you were talking about in terms of defense in the third period. The Dallas Stars outscored the Oilers by a count of 5-0, and we've seen that from the Stars before. We all remember that third period that they were able to put together against Colorado Avalanche, but how much of a concern in this series does Stuart Skinner need to be? Because I always refer to 90% in terms of save percentage being sort of the Mendoza line for goalies. He was actually a little bit below that during the regular season and looked really good in that VGK series, but you know as well as I do, he wasn't even out there for the entirety of that Los Angeles Kings series, was pressing action a little bit more, and that to me is a little bit concerning for the Oilers.
It is, Greg. He's had an up and down playoff. You know, after 2 games, I thought he was done. I didn't think he would come back and play for Edmonton this playoff round, but Calvin Pickard got hurt, and that's why Stuart Skinner went back in. He played better in the Kings series, had a couple of shutouts in the Vegas series, which was a shock to me. I didn't think Vegas would go down in 5, but yeah, it's a problem. Because you don't know what you're going to get. You know what you'll get from Connor and Leon and Evan Bouchard. You don't know what you're going to get from Stuart Skinner night in, night out. So I think by Game 3, Calvin Pickard might be healthy. So it depends on what happens in Game 2. But Stuart Skinner may not be the goalie by the end of the series. It's a concern. But they didn't play great defense in front of them. They didn't play good penalties. They didn't stop scoring chances, high stakes, stuff like that. You can't do, you know, in the third round of a playoff series. So they could have supported them a little bit better. But, yeah, Skinner's going to be a continuing story, Greg, throughout this round.
No question about it, and you were talking about the injuries with regards to the Edmonton Oilers there, and I think that it's so interesting to gauge the Stars team as well, because, I mean, the reason why it was so difficult for them to be able to get to this spot is because they were dealing with all those injuries in the Avalanche series. Many of those guys were able to come back in terms of round number 2. Now it feels like the Dallas Stars have been able to figure out just exactly what their rotations are. They've gotten a lot of their guys back, and how big is it that you feel like they were able to mix and match in those first 2 rounds of the postseason? Because I think that they're now better at this juncture because of everything that happened to them before, because now they know sort of the combinations that they can go to even when things aren't necessarily going their way.
It's not just getting back 2 players, Greg. It's getting back an all-world defenseman in Miro Heiskanen, who's their best defenseman, and a 35-goal scorer in Jason Robertson, who still hasn't found the mark in the playoffs, but still is an excellent player, and he's on that second line. So, yeah, it makes a deep team. And I think on paper, Greg, when they're healthy, they're probably the best team remaining in the playoffs, pound for pound. But they still have to go out, win games, be better on special teams, have Ottinger play well in net. So it's a big boost for this team that, to be frank, didn't need it, but they got it. So that's why the Dallas Stars are so dangerous, because from first line to fourth line, from first pair to third pair, and the net, this is a very deep team.
Yep, it certainly is, as we've got Dennis Bernstein joining me right here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, and Smart Bets, they do start here with VSiN over at here with the network. We've got our VSiN Pro subscriptions that go down, and typically we charge $20 a month for it. We're going to cut you guys a special year. Instead of paying $240 for 12 months, we're going to trim that down by $41, and we're going to give you an extra 2 months. So that's going to give you 14 months for $199, less than 50 cents a day. That gives you daily best bet emails in your inbox with all of our show hosts and guests making their picks for you. You've got 24/7 video access on the VSiN Watch app, plus full access to VSiN.com's analytics, betting trends, and expert breakdowns. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe, type in the promo code PRO. That is going to save you $41 and get you 2 months for free. And Dennis, how about if we take a look at the other series that we've got here in the playoffs, as it's the Panthers and the Hurricanes doing battle in game number 2. And I thought that this was just very interesting in doing my research. The Carolina Hurricanes have now lost 13 straight games with regards to the conference finals, and it just feels like it's a monkey on their back. And you know as well as I do, the Hurricanes have some of the more dramatic home and road splits of any team in hockey, and I think that this is just such an critical game for them coming up on Thursday.
I guess when you lose 13 in a row in one round, it's a trend at this point, Greg, and it's a trend. They're too good to lose that many games in a row. Like, at some point, they're going to win. I think they should. Well, let's put it this way. I've used this cliche a bit. If they lose tomorrow night, they're done. So this isn't game 7 because it won't eliminate them, but it's game 6.5, Greg. If you tell me that Carolina won't win tomorrow night and then go down to Sunrise, down 2-0, and beat the Panthers, it's essentially 4 out of 5, I don't see it happening. So this is a team that has to let it all hang out, throw caution to the wind. And it's not their style, Greg. They're a very conservative defensive team. But when you're desperate, you make mistakes, and you need to create more offense. So it looked like men against boys in that first game. But I think maybe it was a little bit of a situation where maybe the Hurricanes did read the press clippings about them losing so many in a row in the conference final. But I got to think this is their big game. This is their, like I said, this is as close to a must-win for the Hurricanes, short of an elimination game. So I like them tomorrow night. I don't like them overall in the series because they have to turn it around. But the Panthers look like a lot like the team that won the Stanley Cup last June.
Yep, they certainly did. And for Sergei Bobrovsky, he's looked like one of the best goalies on the face of planet Earth as well. He had himself a really nice game number 1, being up top 31 shots. And just how much of it is the Carolina Hurricanes needing to change up their approach a little bit in terms of attacking, because they got plenty of shots on goal. It just felt like they weren't necessarily getting the world's greatest looks, though.
Yeah. Well, they're not the greatest goal-scoring team in the world, and that's the one criticism about the Hurricanes, and that's why they've lost so many games in the conference final, because they're not a great offensive team, great defensive team, right? I think they're the top penalty kill team in the playoffs and maybe second in goals against. They're not going to give up a lot. Their challenge is trying to score goals, and when they traded Rantanen eventually to Dallas, you see what Rantanen's doing for Dallas right now. Could have they used him in Carolina? Of course they could. So I think that's the key for the Hurricanes. They got to be able to bear down on their chances. I know it's a cliche that coaches you all the time, but when they get their chances, Greg, they got to be opportunistic. They got to put the puck in the back of the net, because they don't, they'll go back down to Sunrise down 0-2.
Absolutely. And how big of a concern do you think as well is it that Frederik Andersen just had the game that he did in game number 1 as well, letting up 5 goals. A few of them were softer goals as well. And for the Carolina Hurricanes, they decided to ride with the veteran a little bit more here in the postseason. Yeah. And up until this point, he had been pretty rock solid, but I thought that was very concerning, his performance in game 1.
You're right, Greg. He has to close the gap between himself and Bobrovsky. And for some of the bettors out there, I think you're looking at Bobrovsky as possibly a Conn Smythe winner, MVP of the playoffs, if they do find a way to win. And that's it. He's not going to be better than Bobrovsky, but he's got to be close. You can't have that differential net like you had in game 1. Otherwise, like I said, it's going to be 0-2 going back to Florida, something the Hurricanes don't want. So Freddie will have to be better. They'll have to bear down on their chances, and they're going to have to ride that home crowd to try to get a win to even the series tomorrow night.
Yep, they're certainly going to need to, and I just want to go back because you were talking about the fact that you like the Hurricanes in game number 2, not necessarily overall for the series. How do you take a look at that series between the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers? Because you were talking about it with the Dallas Stars. It feels like they might be the most complete team in all of hockey right now. Do you think of what we saw in game number 1, the way that they were able to pull away in the third period, that's going to really be able to pull them through in the series against the Oilers and set them up perhaps with a nice series against the Panthers?
Yeah, I think it's still a toss-up series, Greg, to be honest with you, because you can't play the first 40 minutes like they did. Like, they played a losing 40 minutes. They played a great 20 minutes. I have to see game 2 because I still like the Edmonton Oilers in this series because I think their depth's been better. But as we talked about at the top, Greg, if Stuart Skinner's not going to be better than he was tonight, that's going to be an issue. That's going to be a problem. That might put the Dallas Stars over.
I think so as well. And how much because we've got about a minute left here, how much do you think the key is for all 4 of these teams goaltending? Because it feels like that's a theme of what we've been talking about. These goaltenders, whether they've been dominant or not, and the guys that have not been so good just seem to be better.
Yeah, look at Jake Ottinger in the last round. He helped win the series. It's very important. It's vitally important. Yeah, you got to score goals in the playoffs to win the Stanley Cup, but you got to stock the puck. It's as equally as important as the offense, Greg. So, yeah, it's going to come down to the 4 goaltenders, and 3 of them, are proven. Stuart Skinner's the one guy who hasn't won a Stanley Cup who's not proven, so that could be an issue for the Edmonton Oilers. If they don't win that round, in this round, you might have to point at Stuart Skinner as the reason why.
Yep, and it's going to be so interesting to see what we get in both of these series, as we had 2 high-scoring games in terms of game number 1s. We're going to see what we get in these game number 2s. And Dennis, I know you're doing a tremendous job breaking down all things hockey, and it's really appreciated. Thank you so much.
Greg, it was always great being on VSiN. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Always great to be able to have Dennis aboard. He does such an amazing job being able to take a look at everything that we've got on the ice. And what if we go from on the ice to on the diamond as we take a look at some Thursday baseball next, right here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're back here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Was great to be joined by Dennis Bernstein, talking a little bit of hockey as I lost in everything that happened in the Pacers versus Knicks. We had a collapse out there in the NHL as well. When you give up a 2-goal lead and you lose by 3 goals because he gave up a 5-0 run in the third period. You know that's some good, clean family fun right there. So it was great to be able to talk with Dennis about what we're going to be seeing on Thursday, what we're going to be seeing on Friday, and beyond. And we certainly have to talk a little bit of baseball, but first things first, we want to give you guys a bit of an update as where things are matriculating with regards to this Game 2 line between the Pacers and the Knicks, because I'm just so fascinated by it. Like, the handicap on this is insane. How do you take a look at a Knicks team that they closed as 4.5-point favorites here in game number 1? They looked like they were in full control of 14 points with 2 minutes and change. If you look at all the analytical win percentages and everything like that, they were like 99.5 to 99.9% to be able to get the job done. They do not get the job done, and now here they are as even bigger favorites for game number 2 right now. You're seeing them as 5.5-point favorites. Total is 227, and it's just a matter of how do you take a look at this thing, in my opinion, from a little bit more of a psychology standpoint, because the psychology is, if you're the New York Knicks, do you come back and you say, hey, the Indiana Pacers were about as lucky gets, and they were as lucky gets. Like, Aaron Nesmith canned like 500 million billion threes in the final 2 minutes of that game. You had the shot by Tyrese Halliburton, which, that's a shot that I don't know if I've ever seen that go in my life, anything quite like that, but somehow, some way that goes after it bounces to pretty much the ceiling and just falls right into the net. That's the way that you have to look at it if you're them, or do you feel sorry for yourself? Do you feel like, yep, we were supposed to win this game, we have lost it, now we've lost home court advantage, we've lost our mojo, and yep, we've got absolutely none of it? That's, I think, the big question that you want to be asking yourself. Personally, this is one where I would not be messing around with this right now. This is one where you take a look at how things start in game number 2, you gauge it from there, and again, I think that this is a series where you just live bet the team that's down, because both of these teams have played their best basketball when they have been down by double figures, and you saw that here tonight with the Indiana Pacers being able to come back from down 14 points with 2 minutes and change remaining to be able to get the job done. And if you want to go a little bit further, down 17 points with 6 minutes and change to go as well. So lots of intrigue there. Quite a bit of intrigue with regards to baseball card as well. We still have a few games that are going down for this Wednesday as I am doing this show. Right now, the Arizona Diamondbacks up by a count of 1-0 on the LA Dodgers, which for the Dodgers, it's starting to get a little bit concerning for them. Did stop the bleeding with a win on Tuesday, but the last time they covered a run line, I think it's 5 games ago. So that's a bit of a concern. And if you're gauging Athletics versus the LA Angels, right now the Angels are up by a count of 6-3, and all of a sudden, how did the Angels get hot? Like, this is something that I'm asking myself. I gauge a great game of baseball every single day, and it felt like the Wednesday card was crazy, and really just the entire sports scene was crazy. We saw what happened with regards to Pacers versus Knicks. You saw a team go on a 5-0 run in the third period in terms of the NHL, and then you saw a whole bunch of really good pitchers get lit up like a Christmas tree. Hunter Brown was completely terrible against the Tampa Bay Rays. The Toronto Blue Jays knocked off the San Diego Padres by a count of 14-0 in that one, and the Baltimore Orioles won a game. Like, you don't see that very often. And how about if we do start right there, because the Orioles, they're looking to be able to win 2 in a row, and then if they do that, they have a chance at a win streak. And it has indeed happened. This is 9-13, 9-14 on the card, as it's going to be Cade Povich going against Lucas Giolito. And I can't remember last time I have had a differential to myself and what the books are putting out there, because right now I'm seeing the Boston Red Sox as a -121 to a -125 favorite, and for Baltimore, they're more around about +105, +110. Total on this game is 9. I feel like the Red Sox should be more like a $2 favorite here. I feel like the Orioles have been completely mispriced for the entirety of the season. Yes, they were able to get the job done against the Milwaukee Brewers, but now they have to go from the great state of Wisconsin, travel back east, out to Boston, and for this Orioles team, Cade Povich is not good. Like, say what you want about Lucas Giolito, and he's not good himself. He's posting up an ERA that is north of a 7. He's been giving up a lot of hard contact. You go back to when he was last starting prior to the season during the 2023 campaign, he spent time with 3 different teams because he was just not pitching very well. He was traded for by the LA Angels, DFA'd, and then finished out the year with the Cleveland Guardians. It was that bad for him, but I have more faith in him than a guy in Cade Povich for his career, as an ERA hovering right around 6 on the road. He's giving out a lot of walks. He's not getting a lot of strikeouts. He's giving up a lot of hard contact. That's a list of things that you don't want to be checking if you're Mr. Cade Povich. And for the Baltimore Orioles, they've got one of the worst bullpens in the big leagues that had to throw 11 innings against the Milwaukee Brewers. As for this Orioles team, you've had Yunier Cano posting up north of a 4.5 ERA. Brian Baker has been okay, and obviously Felix Bautista, even though he did not get the job done on Wednesday, has been a relatively solid closer throughout his career. But for Baltimore as well, went into the day on Wednesday averaging right around about 3.8 runs per game away from home. That is a bottom 5 mark in all of baseball. And for the Boston Red Sox, I do like the fact that you've got Weiler Abreu, a couple with Alex Bregman, both giving 11 plus home runs apiece. Both of these guys have been pretty solid at being able to move the line. Rafael Devers, say what you will about not picking up the glove, he's been picking it up at the plate ever since that controversy. He's back up north of a 4-iron base. He's back up to being able to give you 10 plus homers this season. So absolutely love what you're finding there. And for the Red Sox, I recognize that the bullpen is not amazing. Liam Hendricks is still trying to find his way after everything that he experienced off the field last few seasons. And Aroldis Chapman has actually had a really nice season. He and Brendan Bernardino, they're currently supplying a sub-2 ERA. I don't think that that's going to be long-lasting, because just when you start to trust in Aroldis Chapman, that's exactly when he's going to fail you. But you know what? I take a look at this total of 9, and I do think that Giolito is going to give up a few runs, but I certainly do think that Boston is going to be able to get to Baltimore as well. And Baltimore just feels mispriced once again, because if they were to play this out there on the neutral field, they'd probably be setting the Orioles as a very slight favorite, and I can't get with that for a team that has won 33% of their games this season. They have been the least profitable team in all of baseball, and I just don't think that that's going to turn around because of one win against the Brewers that, again, they had to go 11 innings, which means that they exhausted a lot of resources out there in that bullpen. So I'm going to be taking a look at the over, and I'm going to be taking a look at the Boston Red Sox on the money line. And something else that you want to be taking a look at is VSiN Morning Bets and this wonderful podcast. It's a look at the day's betting lines, sharp action, and market movement. In just 15 minutes, you get everything that you need to know to make smart wagers and stay ahead of the moves before your morning coffee is gone. It's hosted by VSiN's team of trusted experts. The Daily Morning Line is fast, focused, and built for bettors like you. Listen to the VSiN Daily Morning Line Best Podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or get it on the VSiN Watch app. It is the sharpest way to start off your betting day. It is the VSiN Daily Morning Bets Podcast, and we'll give you guys a little bit of this as well. If you're looking for a little bit more of a baseball-centric podcast as well, I do one for the network called The Baseball Betting Show with Greg Peterson. We want to make it very difficult for you to find that one, but Baseball Betting Show, I break down every single game every single day. So that is really one of my bread and butter sports. I do a lot of baseball. I do a lot of college basketball. When one season ends, another begins, and oftentimes I get like 2 or 3 weeks of overlap throughout the season. So always leads to a lot of fun. And how about if we break down this game, because we saw something very historic in baseball on Wednesday, and it's not the sort of history that you want to make. The Pittsburgh Pirates are the first team in the live ball era to score 4 runs or fewer in 26 straight games. Like, you fall rear end backwards into 5+ runs, it just somehow, some way in some of these games. Like, right now, they're averaging 2.9 runs per game. Remarkably, they were able to get the job done against the Cincinnati Reds, by the way, in terms of that game on Wednesday. But right now, in terms of the game that we've got against the Milwaukee Brewers, there are a few books that have posted up an initial opener. The reason why you don't have an opener in this game is that the Brewers have yet to decide the young guy that they're going to have starting for them, and I have an idea who it's going to be, but we do know that for the Pittsburgh Pirates, they're going to be throwing out there Mike Burrows for his first start of the season. And right now, from everything that I'm hearing through the grapevine for the Milwaukee Brewers, it should be Carlos Rodriguez going for them. Right now, I'm seeing a few openers of a total of 9 with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they're right around about a +102 underdog, -120 with the Milwaukee Brewers. Again, if you think that the line should be this tight and the Pittsburgh Pirates have scored 4 runs or fewer in 26 straight games, if you think that they're going to win this game, you probably do like the under, because this team is just not able to save their lives. Oneil Cruz has been dealing with a little bit of injury, and for Oneil Cruz, even when he has not been injured, he's been only able to give you right around about a .225 average. He's been able to supply the team with 8 home runs, and Brian Reynolds has given you a little bit of pop, but he and Tommy Pham hanging below the middle line of 200. Andy Rodriguez has been a little bit banged up, but he has been pretty rough for this team. You just take a look at these guys like Alex Canario and company. They're supplying nothing for you. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, not necessarily the world's greatest power team as well. Jackson Chourio, along Christian Yelich, both have 7 home runs apiece, but this is not the Christian Yelich that we saw win an MVP award a few seasons ago. This is a guy that's a far cry from that, hitting right around about a 200. You've had Sal Frelick, Bryce Rang do a nice job in terms of being able to move line, so that's been something that's been a little bit encouraging for this team. But for the Brewers, you do have to be a little bit concerned with this bullpen. You got likes of Yo Payamps, Elvis Figueroa, who just have not been themselves thus far this season. Abner Uribe has actually been really good for the team. I know that he was dealing with, I believe it was a suspension towards the back half of the season last year, but he's been able to supply a sub-2 ERA for the team thus far this season. And I do think that the young guy in Carlos Rodriguez, who's been posting up a .199 ERA for the Nashville AAA Sounds, 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, should be a rightful favorite here. I did set the Brewers at a -134. I'm looking at them on the money line, and anything of an 8.5 or a 9, we'll be looking at the over or the under as well. And coming up next, how about if we continue the baseball chatter right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.